Good morning, children. Now, please check your answers for the previous assignment that we had done. Name the following: a parasitic plant with slender and branched stems, Cuscuta plant. The pores through which leaves exchange gases, stomata. The tissue which helps in transport of water and minerals from the soil, xylem. Plants which trap insects and which feed on them, insectivores. Answer the following. Name the bacteria that provide nitrogen to plants. The rhizobium bacteria. What are parasitic plants? A parasitic plant is a plant that derives some or all of its nutritional requirements from another living plant. Now children, we have spoken about insectivorous plants and parasitic plants. I hope you have understood the difference between the two. So now let us continue with the next mode of nutrition, that is saprotrophic nutrition. What do we mean by saprotrophic mode of nutrition and what are saprophytes? Saprophytes are nothing but they are living organisms that can live and feed on dead and decaying matter. So these saprophytes, they do not have green color in them. So they are non-green plants and they cannot prepare their own food. So what they do is they grow on this decaying matter, and as they grow they secrete digestive juices and break down that organic matter which is around them, and they absorb the food from them. So this type of nutrition is called saprotrophic mode of nutrition, and such plants are called saprotrophs or saprophytes. Now please spell out saprotrophs, saprotrophs. So we have spoken about saprophytes. Now saprophytes are nothing but they are living organisms which uh, grow on dead and decaying matter. Now we'll talk about a few examples here. The first one is yeast. Now yeast is nothing but it is a single-celled microscopic fungus. It is also a fungus that uses sugar as its food. And when this yeast respires, it produces carbon dioxide. So it produces carbon dioxide during respiration, and that is trapped in the dough of the bread, and this causes that dough to rise up. So that is why yeast is used in bread making. Now the second picture that you can see on the slide is of mold, MOLD. Okay. Again, this is another type of fungus which can be black, white, green or purple in color, and it usually grows or thrives in moisture where it is wet. So if you you can see this, if you take a piece of bread and keep it out for a long period of time, say for 5-6 days, after a few days you will find green colored layer which is grown over it. That is nothing but mold, or it is a kind of fungus. And the third one of course is mushroom. Again, mushroom is also seen in places where it is wet, and they also grow on dead and decaying matter. And the mushrooms, some of the mushrooms may be poisonous, while some mushrooms are useful and they have a lot of amount of protein in them, and it is used in making food. Now children, I've spoken to you about saprophytes, and you know that these saprophytes, they don't have this green color. They do not prepare their own food. Now you can try this activity at home. The materials required for this activity will be just a piece of bread, water, and the magnifying lens which all of you will have at home. Now you can take a piece of bread, pour little water on it, and leave it for 3 to 4 days. After 3 to 4 days, when you look at the piece of bread or you look at the slice of bread, you will observe that it might have patches over it, and the patches may be black, yellow, brown in color. It could be any color. Now what you try to do is, after you observe these patches, take your magnifying glass which is at home, or your magnifying lens which you have at home, and just observe with the help of the magnifying lens. Actually, whatever you see on this piece of bread, it is nothing but it is fungus. So this fungus, all of you know, which grows on bread is nothing but it is mold. Now let's talk about symbiosis. Symbiosis is a combination of two Greek words. Sym means with and biosis means living. So here what happens is, we have organisms who live and work together for their mutual benefit. That is, if the plants or if two organisms are living together, they share shelter and nutrition here. Now this association is called symbiosis, or it is called symbiotic relationship. Now let me talk to you about symbiotic plants. Now you can see the picture on the slide. The picture on the slide shows you the picture of lichen. Now what do we mean by the word lichen? Now actually these lichens are very slow growing plants which you usually see on rocks, walls and trees. And this lichen, it is a composite organism, meaning it is made up of fungus and algae. So there are two organisms living together over there and they mutually benefit from each other. Now as you have already studied, you know that fungus is a saprophyte. It cannot make its own food. And we know that algae are autotrophs. We have spoken to you about that also, how they prepare their own food because they have that green color in them. So they are autotrophs and they can prepare their own food. So how do these two organisms live together? How they live is, the fungus over there provides shelter, water and minerals to the algae, and in return the algae provides food to the fungus. So they show symbiotic relationship over here. Now let me talk to you about the relationship between the rhizobium and the leguminous plants. Now for example, if we take the roots of leguminous plants like the beans, gram, etc., they contain this rhizobium bacteria. Now these bacteria convert the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates which are used up by the leguminous plant. And in return the rhizobium depends upon the leguminous plant for food and shelter. So the rhizobium and the leguminous plant live in a symbiotic relationship, or they exhibit symbiotic relationship. So children, we have spoken about autotrophic and heterotrophic modes of nutrition in plants. But now for all these plants to grow, one of the most important requirement is the soil, from where the plants get the minerals. So how do we take care of the soil? Plants require nutrients for their proper growth. So how do you think we can replenish this soil? You know that we keep growing crops year after year, and after that what happens? This results in the depletion of the certain nutrients. So if it is not replenished, if the nutrients are not enough in the soil, then it becomes unfit for cultivation. So replenishment of soil is very necessary. So how do we do it? So the first way which we can do is by following the crop rotation method. What is this crop rotation method that we are going to do is, so if you are growing a crop on a field, what we'll try to do is, for one crop or one season, we would grow 2 cereal crops, or one legume crop should be grown between 2 cereal crops. Since leguminous plants have nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil or in the roots, it helps the soil to be replenished back with the required nutrients. So that is one way that we can replenish the soil, or the soil gets back its nutrients. And of course the second method will be just by using fertilizers and manures. The fertilizers and manures which contain nutrients like nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus. So the farmers use or add these fertilizers to the soil to get back the nutrients. Okay children, try to answer these questions. Look at the color of the leaves in the picture below. They look red, brown and yellow and of course green color. Now do you think these leaves can make their own food? The next question, do you think insectivorous plants are partial heterotrophs? Actually insectivorous plants have chlorophyll in them. So the question is, do you think insectivorous plants are partial heterotrophs? They can be also called partial autotrophs also. Distinguish between a parasite and a saprophyte. We will discuss the answers in the next class. So children, we have completed the first chapter, Nutrition in Plants. Let us summarize the important points and what you have learnt in this lesson. Now, the first thing that you have understood is how organisms need food and why it is important to all of us. Then the second one is, what is nutrition, meaning how food is taken in and how it is utilized to get energy and maintain the body. Then the next term which is very important to remember is autotrophs. So what are autotrophs? Autotrophs are nothing but green plants which synthesize food for themselves. Then the next point, animals and few plants depend upon others for their nutrition and they are called heterotrophs. Now under autotrophs, you know that they can make their own food, and to make their own food, what are the things that the plants require are the basic requirements. There are chlorophyll, water, sunlight and carbon dioxide, which is required for the process of photosynthesis. And during photosynthesis, the two important things that are produced are the carbohydrate, which is the product, and the next one is oxygen, which is released during photosynthesis. Then parasitic plants, you have understood, they obtain food from the host plant. The host plant is deprived of all the nutrition and it causes harm to the host plant. Saprophytes are plants which grow on dead and decaying matter. Then symbiosis, where you have two organisms living together by sharing shelter and nutrients. Then another important term which you have to remember is the rhizobium. They are bacteria that help in fixing nitrogen in the soil. So summarize and learn all the important points from the lesson.